Okay, so we're ready to begin the wireframing process. Of course, you've already seen the finished layout, the finished design, so you know what we're headed towards, at least, so you're not in the dark here. Now, I was just thinking about this too. As we begin this wireframing process, I'm going to be using a lot of keyboard shortcuts here in Illustrator. When I'm working in programs like Photoshop and Illustrator and even Dreamweaver and some others, I'm always using keyboard shortcuts to speed things up. And I'll try and make you aware of the different keyboard shortcuts that I use as we go along, and hopefully you'll pick up some neat tips as we go. All right, so we're ready to begin the wireframing process. The idea here is just to get sort of a skeletal structure together for our design to show the client, to return back to the client and get their feedback on what we're building for them before we move on to adding in things like colors and fonts and photography and things like that. So let's begin the process here. The first thing that I'm going to do is I want lots of space to work with here. So I'm going to hit Shift-Tab on my keyboard. And what that does is that essentially collapses all of the panels that we have in Illustrator over on the right-hand side, but it keeps the toolbox over on the left-hand side still open. And I can hit Shift-Tab again, by the way, if I want to bring everything back to life. So it's just a toggle there, Shift-Tab, kind of a neat one. Okay, I'm going to zoom in as well by holding down Control or Command Spacebar and clicking with my mouse there to zoom in. I should mention, by the way, just while we're on the issue of zooming, when we're working on a web layout, whether it's inside Illustrator or Photoshop, pay attention to your actual zoom level setting found way down in the bottom left-hand corner. Right now I'm at 100%. The layout that we build together in Illustrator and in Photoshop will appear inside the web browser at 100%. So if you want to get a sense of how things are going to look inside a web browser, just make sure you're zoomed to 100%. So let me show you a couple of neat things here. I'm going to hit Command minus or Control minus if you're on the PC there. That'll zoom you out. Control or Command plus and minus will zoom you in and out. And oftentimes what I'll do is I'll just hit Control or Command 1, and that will zoom me in to the 100%. So as I'm moving along building my layout, oftentimes I'll just hit Command or Control 1, and that will zoom me in to 100%. Again, you might know some of these shortcuts already. You may not. I have no idea, but I thought I'd bounce them off you at least there. Okay. So I'm going to start off here in the top left corner of my blank document. I was just panning around there, by the way, just with the spacebar, holding down the spacebar and clicking and dragging with my mouse. And I want to start wireframing things out. So what this means is we're going to keep things really, really simple. We're going to use simple shapes. Usually when I'm wireframing, I only use two colors, solid black and solid white. So I'm going to start off by grabbing my rectangle tool out of the toolbox. Hit the D key on your keyboard, just D all by itself, and that will ensure that your fill color is set to white and your stroke is set to black, just like that. And I'm going to go ahead and drag out a rectangle, maybe something like that. Now, this is going to serve as the placeholder for my logo, and actually, because I was zoomed in, I couldn't really tell how big I was creating this in relation to the rest of the layout, so I'm going to go and grab my black arrow tool and just scale this down a little bit. I don't know exactly how big my logo is going to be, but I know that I want it in the top left corner, and it's going to be something like that. So that looks good to me. And let's see here. I'm going to go and throw down a few more rectangles as well. I'm going to throw down a rectangle for my main menu, which is going to be something like that. Again, I'm not being very precise at all. I'm just throwing down rectangles here. And let's see, what else? We want to have that slideshow in the center area, so that's going to be about like that, I think. Okay. Wonderful stuff. Let me zoom in here just a little bit. There's a few other things that I want to do inside our wireframing here. We're just getting started here. I want to go ahead and I want to type in the main menu that we have here. Actually, let me just zoom out just a little bit here. It's always tricky to get exactly the zoom that I'm after. There we go. Something like that is great. Okay, now here's what I'm going to do for the main menu. I'm going to hit the T key on my keyboard. That flips me over to the Type tool over in the toolbox. And I want to create this menu right inside this rectangle. Now, be careful with this tool, though, because you want to make sure that you have, it's kind of hard to explain, but you want to have a rectangle around your cursor, your I-beam. Notice if I go over the edge of a shape, then I get sort of an oval around that I-beam. We want the rectangle, okay? Just like that. Go ahead and single click. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to type in home. This is the main menu, of course. And check this out. I'm going to put in 2 spaces, and then I'm going to hit Shift and backslash on my keyboard, and that gives me a vertical pipe there. The backslash key is way over on the right-hand side of your keyboard. And then 2 more spaces, and I'll type in Meet Your Sensei, 2 spaces, Shift, backslash, 2 spaces. Let me get my cursor out of the way there. And let's continue on with the rest of the menu here. Tour our dojo. There we go. Our martial arts program. 2 spaces, vertical pipe, 2 spaces. Our training schedule. There we go. Almost done here. Current events. There we go. FAQ. Always nice to have one of those in there. And contact. Either contact or contact us would be fine. There we go. Okay, great. Now, at this stage of the game, this wireframing stage of the game, I don't really know how large this should be. I don't know what fonts I should use, this sort of thing. But I know that I want a menu there, and I know what I want to be in the menu, right? So we've set that up. And by the way, I was just scaling up the menu there just by holding down the Shift key with my black arrow tool and getting things sort of sized up there. There we go, something like that. Now, we're in the very, very early stages, of course, of the wireframing process. I'm excited to continue on, so let's continue building out the wireframe for our design.